Hi and welcome to the channel. Today we'll be going over Unraid and Plex, how to set it up, all the basics, which is part 3 of my Unraid how-to video collection. There should be more to come on ZFS and arrays in specific, and possibly others down the track. So let's get started. Now if you're here, you're obviously here for Unraid. You're also here for Plex, which also applies to MB and a number of other media playback applications that you might be interested in. So I will not go over the other ones. I will only set this up in Plex because that's the one I'm familiar with. I personally have tried the other ones and I never got the hang of them, or there was always something that just felt weird. Plex has treated me well and I've got a lifetime pass with Plex, so I've got that a decade ago, which was a bargain back then. Alright, let's get started. In order to get started, we're obviously going to need to install Plex. And if you're familiar with Unraid, we basically get pretty much all our apps from the App Store. Alright, we click the App Store, we type in Plex and just hit enter. I usually organize always by downloads. Okay. Now I have had no luck with the Plex official one. I've used it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The primary issue I have is either going to be Intel or Nvidia, one or the other or both. It refuses sometimes to use 3D acceleration or GPU acceleration. Now BinHex has treated me well, but I recently had to move away from it because it worked for a long time and suddenly it just stopped working. I mean, the application it works, but the acceleration stopped working and I don't know why. I've spent months recreating it, etc. It refused to work. So I've gone over to the Linux IO, which is this left one here. All the same settings, just copy pasted the database, etc. I might actually, if there's enough need for that, I might make a video on how to migrate Plex from one to the other, which is fairly straightforward. You just need to copy a couple of files from A to B, a config file, the database file, etc. And I might make a video on how to repair a corrupted database, because the videos you find out there are poke in the eye. They do not work, or they require a large number of dependencies on your system all to behave. It's just messy. So I might make a video on how to fix a corrupted database. But let's get started with Plex, which is what we're all here for. So I'm just going to install Plex. I will just go media, TV. Actually, let me go back and just pre-create these folders. Okay, let's go share, media, create, TV, create, movies, create, anime. Yes, I like anime. Alright, let's, now that we pre-created these, let me just set some media to copy to there, and then I'll resume this. Now in order to copy any media that you want, just browse to the device IP address. You can obviously do the device name as well, depending on how your network is set up, and just dump it. I'm just going to dump Avatar in here because it's a 4K movie. Alright, let's get started with that Plex install. That warning generally means there's an update. Plex, downloads, Plex again. Alright, now for Plex, we will generally want to be in the advanced view because there's just a few things we will need to do. I will first show you how to do the Intel version. So all we're going to do is in here, paste this under the extra parameters. If you do not see this, make sure you've got advanced view enabled. The rest we will primarily leave default. So we're going to media TV, media movies. Okay, we will leave that. And in this case, I'm going to actually make another path for anime. So path, anime, container. Now the container part is what it will be displayed in the container. Host path is obviously on the host, so media, anime. Now if this was on NFS share, which I will show you briefly in a second as well. If it was on an NFS share, you would want to have access mode to read-write slave because it has problems if you just leave it as read-write, something about permissions and multi-user access or whatever it is. So if the data is on a network share, which in my case it usually is, I've got Plex running on a system itself that does not store the data, and everything else is on a network share, a different machine. So I would have set this for all mine. But since this is local here, I'm just going to say add. If you say required yes and it fails to mount this, the image will refuse to load. I'm just going to say no. Okay, so for Intel, all we need is this. I will show you Nvidia in a second. All right, this is just grabbing the image. It's pulling it from Docker or wherever else it might be coming from for your particular image. How long this takes will depend on the system you got this running on, and obviously your internet connection. As you see, it's not very large, a couple of hundred megs, maybe a gig, who knows. Done. Okay, we're going to go to Docker. Now if you do want it to auto turn on, you just want to make sure that that's enabled. As you see, we're currently using 0%. If you do not have the advanced view enabled in here, as you see, it's very bare bones. I usually have this enabled because I want to know what's happening. If you wanted to back that up, if you watched my previous video on applications, there is settings, backup and restore app, and the application itself is called app data backup. I will just show you here. Okay, app data backup. So you can configure that just to back up your whole Plex instance. So you just leave Plex normal, point this somewhere, wherever you want to point it. And this was just a test. That you do not want to point it to itself. That would make no sense. And you just configure this as you see fit, and it will back up as you've configured it. That's just a little bit of you know, so you don't need to stress about it breaking down the track. All right, now we were at Docker. Let's go to Docker. We've got Plex. The first time you run it, in this case, this is just a trial setup. I'm just going to sign in. Got it. HL Lab, that's fine. Now this may take a little bit longer. If you have this ticked, allow me to access my media outside my house. What this will do is it will attempt to establish a relay. So usually it's about 30 seconds. Okay, there we go. Add media, movies, next, browse. Now it's going to be in the root folder, movies. As you see, there is anime and there's TV. So we're just going to select movies, go next, add one more, TV shows. Yeah, we can leave it TV shows, select a language if you needed to. Next, I didn't put anything in TV shows. Now, if you do want anime, it's actually TV shows as well. Next, anime, done. Okay. So we've only copied avatar over there, and I think there's something in anime, might still be populating. But let's check a few settings first. So we're going to click settings. So the remote access failed, but that's fine. Okay, now general, nothing really here you need to change. I would just leave everything as is. Transcode, I usually set it to make my CPU hurt, but that's just me. If you wanted to max it, limit the streams, let's say 3, just in case you got family and friends on there, I would set this to medium. Fast or medium, whatever works for you. You can just leave everything default and take it from there. I don't really put any limits in there. I'll leave that as fast just because the quality of the image will get a little bit better. Because this will use GPU acceleration. Okay, so there's transcode. Now, if you do not have this option, this does require the Plex pass. If you do not have the Plex pass, you will not be able to do hardware acceleration, and that will not be a pleasant experience. If you are only streaming content inside your house and the content you're streaming is supported by the device you're streaming it to, like your TV, this is not really required because it will just stream it in the original format. But 9 out of 10 times this will not be the case, and you will need to use some form of acceleration. If you do not have a Plex pass that allows you to use hardware acceleration, it will use software, meaning the CPU. So this CPU that's currently doing next to nothing would then start transcoding the movie. So in here, because we do have, we've only configured it for Intel at the moment. If we leave it on auto, it will try to do its job to balance between them, but that really works, at least in my experience. So we only got the settings for the Intel one, so I will select it here to force that. I'm going to say done. Go back to the library. There's avatar. So this is 4K HDR10. Now this is also H.265, as you can see. So if you do not have hardware acceleration enabled of any kind, Intel, AMD, or Nvidia, the CPU will struggle. Now what I have found, I will show you. Let me just make sure that this is muted. So on Firefox, for some reason, you do not have the option to stream at default. It's automatically transcoding. Now it will have a little spikes here, but as you see, most of the heavy lifting is happening down here on the Intel card. And from experience on this older system, you can probably run 3 to 7 streams at the same time, transcoded, plus any ones that are just originally streaming inside the house. Now I will just switch over to Chrome. So here we are in Chrome, and in Chrome does support original format, so 21 megs, 4K. And I will just put this off screen. So if we actually open another Plex, if we actually look at the settings, as you see, there's actually 3 streams happening at the moment. One of them is actually paused, I think. Hardware transcode, direct. Now this would be the Chrome, because Chrome supports 8 there. And if I go in Chrome now and let's say show convert to, let's actually just look at the specs. So the CPU is barely doing anything. The graphic card is working away. Can you see down there? There it's running. So currently that is direct, so that is streaming original. So this is actually not using a graphic card or anything. It just streams the file as is. Now if I tell Chrome to downsample this to 720, That will take a second. There it is, it's at 720. This will refresh in a second. There we go, 4K to 720, hardware transcoding. As you see here, the CPU is barely doing anything. The graphic card is doing all the heavy lifting. So we can technically open another one. Okay, it won't let me open another one in Chrome, but it's fine. I can make it work, but it's fine for the purpose of this video. I think we've seen enough. So that is streaming. Avatar multiple times. CPU is barely doing anything. We confirm that it's just the Intel GPU doing everything. Now I will just briefly show you the Nvidia aspect of this. So I will, I mean, I'll leave all of those running. It doesn't really matter. I'm just going to edit this. And we're going to add a few more items here. So we want to switch on advanced, add, want to say variable. So this is what we want to add. We want to add this, and I will paste the script, the details below. Oh, sorry. Let's actually go back to settings. Now for Nvidia, we actually go under settings, Nvidia, and you're going to actually see here the GPU ID. If you have multiple GPUs, this is where you will tell it what GPU you want to use. So back to Docker, edited, add variable, oh, advanced, the bottom click, variable, do this again. Now you can put in here the address that I just showed you a second ago. Now that would be unique for your device, or you can technically say all. I've had mixed results with all, but we can give it a go. We just say add. Now we go add another down here, variable, and we want to say Nvidia drive capabilities, all. Now in this particular instance, this Nvidia card is very slow. It's actually slower than the Intel GPU. So it will struggle more than the Intel CPU is doing. All right, that's already done. We're already done. This, as you see, hasn't even realized what's happening. It's only got one stream remaining. So let's just go to transcode and force it to go to the Nvidia. All right, I think we might need to stop the streams. Curious, they're still running apparently on all my devices. So Intel, as we see, it's not doing anything. The CPU is not doing anything. But we have not added the Nvidia to the GPU panel here. So we're going to click the little cogwheel. We're going to also tick the Nvidia. Say apply. Go done. All right. So yeah, it has not realized that yeah, okay, the stream just stopped. So let's just give Plex one more restart because we freaked it out. Okay, seems to be up. All right. Now I think in this case it's going to be that old flag that I set before is not working. So Nvidia devices visible. Let's actually put in the GPU address. Again, you can find that under settings, Nvidia. So we go settings, Nvidia drivers, and here it is. Okay, this is a very weak CPU. It's the only one that I have that fits in this small form factor, so I can close it. Unfortunately, if I leave it open, there's not enough airflow over the NVMe and the hard drives in there, and when I'm doing some array things, it overheats, so I gotta close it. Alright, let's go back to Docker. Yep, it's that's fine. Chrome, has that actually started? Alright, this actually seems to be currently running software offloading. So this is what you would be experiencing if the GPU was not doing its job. As you see, the CPU that was running 5 to 15% is actually just killing it. Truly. Now I don't have the original option in Chrome at the moment, it seems, just because it's running software. I was under the impression that you can, but that might depend on the device that you're streaming to. CPU usage through the roof. Transcoder is selected correctly. So actually I think what I had the problem before is there was a space on one of these. Let's just confirm that. So no spaces there, no spaces there, no spaces there. Now I've just figured out, now this is the result of software offloading, the error that I've made because I've been moving through this video too quickly. I forgot to modify these extra parameters. Okay, so that actually just needs to say this here. Runtime is Nvidia. Apply. Done. Okay, let's just close that. Let's run it again. Okay, stupid me. I've done this too many times and I've made that simple mistake, but at least I've done it on screen for you so you don't feel left out if you do the same thing. Now, as I mentioned, this graphic card is fairly underpowered. It's not really capable of transcoding the movie correctly, especially this 4K movie. So most of the work is still happening on the CPU, just because this graphic card is not capable. Okay, it just can't. So you need something like a 1050, or I just use a 1050 Ti for most of my things. I've got a P2000 as well, but I stopped using that, so the 1050 Ti seems to do everything I needed to do. All my movies are in H.265 and they generally just work. 10 streams, no problem. Inside, outside, remote, mobile, it doesn't even break a sweat. So the 1050 Ti that I use, or a 1060, I think is the even better option. Very cheap, very entry level. Will do the job greatly. So here, if we actually go, you can see that is currently buffering because that GPU just can't handle the workload. Okay, but at least you know how to configure it. So let's go through that again. Advanced, Nvidia, make sure you put in this. I will put all the details below. Make sure you nominate a device. Okay, so that is a variable, and make sure that there's no spaces at the end, because this is my third attempt of this video. I keep messing something up. And I had a space in one of the previous videos. Okay, so just make sure there's no spaces there. Driver capabilities, all. Now this you can, as I mentioned, do just all. For a lot of people that only have one graphic card, or they might be moving between graphic cards, leave it. It seems to depend on the graphic card in question. So it's no guarantee. If it doesn't work, just specify which graphic card and you should be good to go. So here, because we have a slow, let's put this automatic, and let's just put this on very fast, and we might be able to. Now HDR tone mapping is very important if you do have HDR movies, like Avatar. I think this Avatar is originally HDR. So that's transcoding. Still to yep, that should be fine. So the avatar in here, I think, is HDR. Yes. So HDR tone mapping is very important. If you do not have that there, the picture will look a little out of place, a little underwhelming. So make sure HDR tone mapping. Again, HDR tone mapping and hardware acceleration. I'm pretty sure both of these are Plex Pass. And I would not recommend the monthly. I'd say do the trial. I think they still give you a trial. If this does what you need it to do, just get a lifetime one and call it a day. I know it's very expensive. But if you're like me and you've got a couple hundred shows and a couple hundred movies, it makes up for it, because you can just click anywhere in the house and you just play it, or remotely as well. Look, I think that will conclude this video. DLNA, if you did want to enable it, you can enable it, because some TVs that do not support Plex will still be able to play this back through DLNA, which is kind of like a standardized networking video streaming. I've never used this before because all my stuff supports Plex. I use an Nvidia Shield primarily on all the devices. I do not like the built-in smart TV functions. So the Nvidia Shield does everything I needed to do. So I think I'm going to call it a day. Now, if you did actually, one more thing I might show you. If you wanted to transcode this to something that's more optimal for your setup, so you can actually optimize for mobile phones or TV, or you can just say original quality and it will optimize at something that's more compatible with more devices, or you can go custom. Now I generally do custom Android TV, and I would say like 8 megs, because this is 4K 20. If you have a customized, optimized version of Avatar, it will be in a subfolder in Avatar. And if the device tries to load Avatar in this case, and it sees that there's a version that is more compatible with it, it will just stream that version, and you do have the choice to change live on the device. Okay, so this will be it for this tutorial. You have a good day, and I hope to see you here soon. Bye.